What's up, everybody? Invisible Walls episode 184 is live and direct on GameTrailers.com. Folks, Grand Theft Auto 5 finally announced.
And video teaser type stuff this very morning, which is Wednesday.
And we are going to talk about the big debut right off the top of the show. Have some housekeeping to get to first. First of all, everyone should go and enter the Halo Fan of the Decade contest here on GT. I'm sure by now you've seen the first and second part of our retrospective for Halo. Marcus, you don't seem too excited about that.
No,
Have you seen the retrospective?
No, maybe if it was Halo Fanny of the Decade. Cortana in a bikini.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of cool things with this contest, actually. You can win awesome prizes, which goes without saying, but you can also get your picture put in this mosaic that they're making of Master Chief made up of all fan photos. They will also send you your own unique trailer for Halo with your picture in the trailer. I don't know how they're doing that, some kind of voodoo magic. But it's a really cool program. You guys should check it out and make sure you sign up. Lots of big stuff to get to on the show today. In fact, we'll have Brandon Jones and Michael McWhorter coming in a minute to talk about Grand Theft Auto 5. But the regular crew for today's show, Marcus Beer.
Hola.
Ryan Stevens.
That's me.
And Mike Damiani.
Hey, y'all.
And we'll also have some beta codes for Tribes Ascend to give away at the end of the show, so make sure you stick around.
I wanted to retire from what I was doing, from that line of work.
So despite all the big games coming out right now, all the reviews going live to the site, there is no story bigger this week than the debut of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Well, Justin found a kitten, and it needs a home.
That is true.
That's been big news.
That has been making
Autos.
headlines. That's true.
I had a very interesting crap this morning.
Well, let's hope Grand Theft Auto 5 does not turn out to be like your crap.
Well,
My crap was very
you
interesting.
filmed it so we can pick it
It was
apart.
actually in the shape of a V, bizarrely enough.
Okay.
All right, so what do we think about the trailer? Obviously, a ton of hidden stuff inside there. I mean, where do we begin? There looks like planes are back. It looks like it.
Well, I
at
think we
least.
begin with that. It's San Andreas,
Right.
right?
Yeah, set in San Andreas.
And I guess people are debating, is it just I'm sorry, I can't remember the fucking
Los
fake name of the
Santos.
cities, but is it just LA or is it going to be more than that? That seems to be the...
Well, it already looks like it's more than that. They show a vineyard.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean...
They show the mountains.
Yeah, but the majority of that stuff is really LA focused.
I think it'll go farther outside of Los Angeles than your traditional GTA game does. Like, you'll go farther outside of LA than you went outside of Manhattan in GTA 4. But I from what I saw in the trailer, it didn't look like they were going to go... Like, I don't think we're going to San Francisco. I don't think we're going to Vegas.
Well, what's that one bridge that the jet ski is going underneath? It looked a little bit like the Golden Gate.
That's Long Beach, isn't it?
I just think if it
like
was the
docks
Golden
down-
Gate or
down
something
by
like
Long
that, they
Beach.
would show the Golden Gate. I don't
Yeah.
think they would be cryptic about.
I think it's
sneaking
more-
in
Pretty
shots
cryptic
from
about
another
everything
city.
else.
I think it's more Southern California based. If you look at it, the vineyards, maybe it goes up as far as Santa Barbara.
Yeah, or Ohio.
You see, was it the windmills, which
On
are
the
out
way to Palm Springs.
So, I mean, I'm thinking it's like LA, OC.
Greater Los
that way.
Angeles area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they're probably just playing their cards pretty close right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if you have a Vegas and San Francisco and
They'll get their own
Tijuana
trailers.
equivalent because, I think they're really just trying to do what they do in a lot of Rockstar debut trailers, which is set up character.
Right.
And and then also they're just peppering all these tiny little things like planes, jet skis. There's a bicycle in somebody's yard.
Pets, it looks like you can have a
Yeah,
pet.
the dog was a big
Yeah.
surprise. That was the first thing my eye shot to. Was I think the four cardinal no-nos in a GTA game were no dogs, no kids, no wheelchairs, and no elderly. And that's like the first one's knocked off the list. So
Be able to run
I
over
just-
dogs.
Well, I mean, I don't want to do that, but this is the first thought
Sure you
that
do.
crossed my mind. Just like, oh no.
Well,
Fido.
The next
your
trailer
days are
will
numbered.
actually have an elderly cat in a wheelchair being pushed by a 5-year-old
That'd be
child.
great.
Well, I
That'd be
wonder
fantastic.
if
That's the one
Rockstar
thing I'd ask for.
will go as far as to tap into that LA culture of dogfighting.
Yeah.
Because that could be...
That's
We
a
will.
pretty touchy subject, but if anyone's going to do it, it would be them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the story. It
Well, isn't
almost seems
Blizzard
like a
doing it now?
Sopranos ripoff where you have a family and a wife and kids, but you're a criminal.
But you're trying to go straight.
Well, that's pretty much everybody, and that
Yeah.
like a criminal who doesn't want to be a criminal anymore is every GTA character
This
ever.
is why he moved. He moved west.
Right.
I mean, is it a character from one of the previous games.
What interests me is he says, I bought a house. They show a guy who looks like that guy doing yoga with a woman who I'm assuming is his wife, and that's a nice house. And you're normally always broke at the beginning of GTA
Right, that's
game.
the thing. It's almost like it's set in the socialite scene with a bunch of rich people, which is a huge departure for Grand Theft Auto. Like you said, it's usually someone who's down on his luck, trying to dig himself up out of the mire and make something of himself, whether it's legal or not.
Well, weren't you kind of well off for the Gay Tony DLC?
Yeah, but I mean that's DLC. We're talking about
Yeah, I
proper Grand Theft Auto games. It just seems odd that they would give you the luxuries right out of the gate. Maybe it's a reverse. Maybe it's a story of going from riches to rags.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a biting social satire based on you become one of the 99%.
Yeah.
It's
Well, yeah.
Occupy San Andreas.
Well, there were definitely some recession undertones. I mean,
Yeah,
you
you
see
saw the house repo,
the
yeah.
house being foreclosed. There's like 5 different shots of homeless people. You see them living under an overpass. When you see all the guys underneath the freeway, you see a couple guys in the back of a pickup truck driving away. So I'm like, I don't know if you're going to be pulling up in front of Home Depot picking up guys, but I don't know. There's a lot of class warfare. You see the two, black guys, like one guy's in the sweater and the one guy's in the white shirt, and they kind of look at each other like, there's definitely like a lot of distance between those two guys, and I wonder if that's going to come up in the story.
You guys think Rockstar will ever reuse a main character?
I don't think anyone's coming back from San Andreas. I don't think we'll be seeing Carl Johnson or.
You don't think we'll see CJ in the game at all?
We didn't see any of the characters from GTA 3 or Vice. Like 4 had no mentions really to anything. I mean, it really seemed like a clean slate, like new gen, new story.
I wonder why they do that.
I think it's just the way that they want to write their games. Is they want to write a bunch of interesting characters and they want to move on to new stuff, which is why there's no like GTA 3 2 like Final Fantasy 13 2. I mean, I think that's just how they want to write. They want to come up with a cast of really quirky, varied characters, and this looks to have that too.
I think some of my favorite characters, between GTA 4 and the biker expansion and Gay Tony were definitely Gay Tony. I mean, I think that was the funniest expansion. So I think they're at their best when they bring in new situations, new characters, new crime families, new locations.
Graphics engine, what do you guys think?
There were lots of vistas in the trailer, which is interesting. Lots of shots looking up at the mountain, looking out at the skyline,
A lot
with
of
the
draw
plane
distance.
flying over. It's like, how far can we really go?
Right.
So it'll be interesting.
So let's just go around the horn here. Give the GTA 5 debut a letter grade, Marcus.
Everybody knows I'm not the biggest fan of GTA, especially after the last one. I thought it was a lost potential a lot. As a trailer, I'm going to give it a B+. But I want to see way more, and I have high hopes for the game if they can expand beyond this linear thing that they do ad nauseum, in my opinion.
Ryan.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B+ as well. We all live in Los Angeles here, and I'm not a big fan of Los Angeles, but like watching this trailer, it's like, oh, this looks cool. I'm familiar with this stuff, and wouldn't mind rollerblading down, Santa Monica.
I would like to see that.
My
You wait to
short
get a
shorts with
tofu
little
burger.
V's cut off. I don't know. I'm gonna sound like a bunch of stupid people on the internet, but I wasn't too big a fan of the guy's voice. I'm sure it may grow on me, but it didn't really have that kind of. I don't know. Nico was so lovable.
He's older too. I mean,
But,
he looks like he's in his maybe 50s.
Yeah. It felt like it kind of had a slower pace than some of their past things, even though there's still a ton of cuts in there. And I don't know if that's just the California ideal, the sublime like leaking in, but it's still really interesting. It's really hard to deny that they put out really good trailers that, even if it's kind of a rehash too. It's like, hey, we're going back to San Andreas. Okay. But that stuff looks good.
Mick Werder.
I'm going to give it an A. I wouldn't say that it really turned me on to the excitement of GTA 5, but it was expertly produced, and that it threw all these things in there that got a lot of people talking about what's in the game. I think it provides a little bit of detail on story about father and maybe son kind of stuff, which looks really interesting because it does look like there are other characters that may be playable characters in addition to the main guy. So there's a lot in there. It really has me thinking, which is why I'm going to give it an A.
All right. Brandon.
I'd probably say an A-. I think the only thing, especially just playing LA Noire and growing up in LA, and just lots of games have been placed in LA recently. I was kind of
Was
surprised.
it getting a little tired?
A
that setting?
I don't know. I
We should
can't
bomb
bomb
it.
I don't think it's getting tired to be playing in LA. And it was funny. I got up this morning, I watched it, and then I did the drive from where I live in Altadena, which is almost an hour away from here, and I did the 110. So I was going through the underpass through downtown where they actually showed. I mean, and that's where the first level of realism is totally suspended because the cars were going 30 miles an hour in the game, and I was doing 5. But I like, if they make it, recognizable, and it was funny. Felicia Day tweeted this morning that it would be nice to just tear up the streets of Los Angeles in a realistic form with, a bunch of fast cars and do something you can never do in real life, which is drive above 30 miles an hour.
Did that with Midnight Club LA, right?
Yeah, I think there were subtle teases at furthering the development. I keep thinking about having having Roman in the GTA 4 and how it's like the first time in a GTA game you're really kind of responsible for somebody. Like, I don't want this guy to die, whereas it's usually like every man for himself in a GTA game. So I think that was one of the most interesting things to me from the trailer, seeing where that goes, seeing like, my kid gonna get kidnapped, like how many kids does he have, how old are they, like are they gonna be only in cinemas, or are they actually like in the game? So yeah, A-.
I'll give it a B. I think it was missing a little bit of that Rockstar spark. It doesn't have enough grit in it to me. I don't like the whole gentrified playing as a suburbanite. I mean, hopefully they prove me wrong, but on initial impressions, I don't know if I'm too excited about that personally. I also feel like, if you had watched that trailer and no one told you it was for Grand Theft Auto 5 and no one told you it was a Rockstar trailer, I feel like you could watch it and not know it was a GTA game. For me, it just doesn't have whatever that special sauce is that Rockstar normally has. Sure, they hit a bunch of stuff in there, but I didn't find it particularly compelling, so I'll give it a B.
Word is you made a wrong turn, Jack.
No one ever got ahead sitting on their hands, now did they, Sam?
All right, so next we're going to talk about a franchise I personally think has been mishandled over the last 5 years or so. I feel like it once had a huge following, sold really well, but over the last few years, I feel like they've diluted what it means.
It peaked with the 3DO version.
Yeah, right.
Well, I don't know about that, but we're talking about Need for Speed. Now, they've come out with a couple simulation driving games
they've
under that
split
banner.
the identity. I mean,
which
that's
was a
what's
bad
happened.
idea.
And this is Need for Speed, the runs, yes?
The Run.
Oh, the run. Okay, I thought it was all about having
Oh,
diarrhea
poop jokes.
and having to get
Oh,
from
man,
A to the
that was
toilet.
good.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, you got to check it out.
Yeah, I went to the preview event. I actually, everyone, I think a lot of people that listen to the show probably know Bloodworth's our resident racing guy, but I used to be PlayStation 1 and 64 era. I was definitely a racing fan. I think one reason was a lot of the games on the N64 were racing games.
Because they're easy to make and make look good.
Yeah. I mean, I remember messing around with the first Top Gear, and like you could save the custom paint shop and all that crap. Now, I've never been a big Need for Speed fan. I remember, God, what was the one that came out in like 07 where it was all like that had the drift racing where you'd race for like 7 seconds? And, like,
Well, they all still have that. Like
no, that not all. This one doesn't. But I mean, like the. I don't know. Some of that stuff is it's completely unappealing to
Well,
me.
I think the pinnacle of the series was Need for Speed Underground. I think that was the best-selling one, and after that, it started stepping
It's
down.
all a blur. I know Autolog last year was a great feature. I mean, I think ever
Well,
since
the games are good. Like the
ever
ship
since
games are great.
Trials, ever since I think Trials kind of added that, like, let's make leaderboards actually matter by putting them in your fucking face. But I kind of went to this a little. This game's not had the best. Press ever since its E3 debut. With
Well, we should preface it by
quick-time
saying
events.
this is kind of an action-adventure mixed with the racing
No,
genre.
not really. I mean, I played the game for
Not even kind of.
It's all quick time, isn't it?
there was. I played the first third of the game, and there was 2 QuickTime events in
Yeah.
the first third of the game. So it's
Not that bad.
No, it's pretty mild, and they're not even shoving the story stuff down your throat that often. Even like I beat a whole chapter, and there was not even a cutscene.
Well, how do they keep the story going then?
I mean, generally it's like just keep going. I mean, the general plot in a nutshell is
Don't stop.
Race from San Francisco to New York City to win money, and there's people looking for you. Who the fuck cares? The chick who plays Joan from Mad Men's there, talking to you on a PDA. Okay,
you should have just got the Cannonball Run license and just
I
been
kept
done with
asking.
it.
I mean,
Get some
Smokey and
Dom
the Bandit.
DeLuise
Dom
up in
DeLuise
that
must
baby.
be
Oh,
cheap,
Smokey
man.
and the Bandit, Burt Reynolds and his incredible wig.
I love Cannonball
I mean,
Run.
it's
I'm
a
gonna go on
set-
a
me
tangent
too.
here. When the girls like talking to the Arab guy and he's like hitting on her, and she's like, "Oh no, I have herpes," and he's like, "That's great, I do too."
Yeah.
Like, that shit's hilarious.
I mean, that's essentially the concept for this game. It probably would have been more interesting if it was you racing with other people. What was that other show, Wacky Races? Remember that cartoon from back in the day?
Well, I mean, that comes up. Like, there was a part where the Sports Illustrated models come in. They license these two girls, and they're like, "You're rivals for this race." But then it's pretty quick in and out
As you
stuff.
do.
Well, what's funny is during the loading screens, they actually have like background information on them. It's like, Gina grew up in a one-parent house. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
She likes pina coladas and getting caught in the rain.
So yeah, I had a little bit of time with the game, and I was actually surprised that it actually was pretty fun. It's still a little weird how they break it up. Like, there's 10 stages. You know, stage 1 is like around SF, going out to whatever, Vegas, and then Death Valley, the plains, Vegas itself, and
It's a little bit like Cruising USA.
But it's not just racing. Like, they kind of have, I mean, yeah, generally it's go fast. I mean, you can't really get past that, but you know, and sometimes it's make up time and it's get to certain points before time runs out, or pass 5 guys real quickly, 5 rivals real quickly. And the little variations actually do give it a bit of, you know, longevity and, you know, make it more than just, you know, get to the finish line, which I appreciate when you take a game like a genre like racing and you can kind of add something to it without making it like ridiculous. Like, remember like Full Auto, where it's like destructibility and guns, but it's not actually good.
Well, someone
you know?
has to be the brave soul that steps out first, and chances are someone else will end up doing it a little better later on. But without games that take that chance the first time, you never get to the great release.
Yeah, and it's kind of a weird mix because this is definitely their arcade one. This is not their sim one, even though they brought back like Autolog and stuff like that. But, you know, it's really easy to just pick up and play. I mean, it takes a little while to get used to, like, drifting, like most games. But, you know, it's...
What are the cars? Are they tuner cars,
They're all
supercars?
they're all licensed. And, you know, you pick a car, and I'm like, am I stuck with this car? But then in, like, Vegas, your car gets basically total destroyed, snatched by the police or something, and you have to choose a new car. So it kind of keeps it fresh that way. And there's a lot of...
Now, can you upgrade your car with, like, fins and rims and all that stuff?
Well, there's, like, a leveling XP system, and I didn't really get to explore that on the preview build. I mean, honestly, the only big complaint for me on the game was, like, it's not really an off-roader. There's shortcuts, and they show you the shortcuts on the mini-map, so you kind of know when to expect them. And you can go off the curb a little bit, but at certain points, there's no real way to know that you're, like, basically, like, literally out of bounds, and it has a rewind mechanic. And so it's sometimes you're, like, just driving off, trying to cut a little corner, and it's like, oh, nope, reset, and that was a little annoying. I wish it just had a little better messaging for that. But, I mean, I don't know. This franchise has, like, I know you've said, like, it's definitely kind of waned in the past couple of years, even though it's probably made some of the better games, at least
Sure,
on
the games have been great. The quality hasn't really suffered.
on the high end ones, the kind of weird, wacky FMV ones have still kind of been a little lackluster. But this one seems pretty good. I mean, like I said, the quick time events, you know, it's ridiculous. It's all Michael Bay. I think like a rabid dog attacked me at one point. I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
Why did they show that off?
Isn't Michael Bay doing the trailer?
He's doing the commercial.
Yeah.
But Michael Bay I mean, the Michael Bay feel is throughout. But I was actually surprised that, like, I mean, for kind of a popcorn game, like, you know, you talk about a popcorn movie, it was pretty successful from what I got to play.
Take a good look at yourself, Sonic.
Dr. Eggman!
Hell hath frozen over. There is a good Sonic game. And Mike Damiani is here to talk about it.
Oh, yes, it has happened.
I have to say, I have not played a good Sonic game other than handheld versions.
Oh, yeah. Like,
in a decade, probably, or more.
Yeah, the console ones have, I mean, it's been like a downhill trend for that series. I mean, I did not like the Sonic Adventure games at all.
I didn't
Starting
either.
with the Dreamcast, everything they've tried, they just like thrown everything at the wall and seen if anything sticked, and like nothing had. And with each new one, like, you know, everyone knows the Sonic cycle. You get excited because they show a new concept off. Then you play the game, and it's like, oh, this sucks. And then Sega, like, months later, like, oh, we got a new idea. Don't worry, Sonic's coming back. And the things sell, but, like, the quality has just been kind of in the shitter for, like, a decade. And even the last one, I know some people like Colors, but, like, I just did not like that game. It wasn't up to the quality that I thought it was getting praised for by some of the fans. But so going into Generations, I was like, you know.
Well, let's preface this by saying, as Ryan said before we started recording, Sonic fans are some of the most insane people you will run into.
Passionate, I think the word is.
Okay.
I prefer insane.
Yes. There's a great video that Ryan has shown everybody that basically sums up Sonic fans in a nutshell. But I actually watched a video of that E3 party for Sonic's birthday. And they had Sega employees like cosplaying as Sonic characters, and I was like,
Yeah.
It was embarrassing. So it's safe to say all of them are kind of a little bit crazy. So, but they are very passionate, and they keep buying the games, so Sega keeps making them. So it would be nice if they finally delivered a good Sonic game to their fan base. And while not a great game, this is Sonic Generations, the newest one, is a good game. And not just by Sonic standards, by like general standards.
Hallelujah.
So what makes it so? What makes it so good? Because I mean, they've tried everything. They've tried, all the different elements. They put 3D in there, and that's never really worked.
Kissing,
and 55
werewolves.
different characters, two assholes' tails.
Oh, you stole my joke.
You didn't mention it.
Well, readers, does Tails have two assholes? Let us know.
Don't ask them that.
I like calling them readers, though.
Readers, yeah.
Okay, Sega they didn't do much. They weren't very bold with this one. They kind of went back to like what made Sonic successful. So if you don't know the premise, it's basically two generations of Sonic thrown together. The classic 2D side scroller, and then the modern ones, which is the 3D ones where you're going all over the place. And why it works so well is that the classic style, like it while not exactly like playing the Genesis games, it's very close. And that to me was what Sonic was all about. That unique speed and platforming element you couldn't get anywhere else. They virtually nailed it in this game.
So it's blast processing?
Blast processing in 2011. What would that be called?
Now, I don't even know if I want to know the answer to this question, but how do they sort of rectify the plot in this game?
Does it involve Chaos Emeralds?
There are Chaos Emeralds in there,
There's
but
a
they're
surprise.
not the cause. Yeah, the game parodies itself at every turn. But this to answer your question, basically, this creature called the Time Eater has threatened the fabric of space and time, and somehow the old Sonic and the new Sonic are brought together because both ends of like the timeline are being like destroyed because it's Dr. Robotnik and Eggman are in there, and they're basically trying they're trying to undo all the events that have happened in the past.
This sounds like a plot from Doctor Who.
It sounds ridiculous, and that part of it is it's dumb, but like it's some bullshit explanation to get the two Sonics together. But unlike trying to like maintain this kind of like comical thing that like never was pulled off very well in the other Sonic games, like this one just has fun with itself. It's like we're gonna make fun of ourselves. It references past plots and how we're like, man, this is really ridiculous. Like no more ridiculous than saving aliens in an amusement park, or they make fun of the other. They make fun of all their old games.
That's
like,
good.
Or turning into a werewolf. I was like, that's pretty good. And then Sonic makes like. The new Sonic doesn't speak as much during some parts. He just makes like these facial reactions, like face palms
Totally
and stuff.
fine with that.
Yeah. So I mean,
So this is the postmodern Sonic we've
yeah,
been waiting for.
to a degree.
Well,
but
I got a question, though, going back to what you said earlier about why the game's good. What makes this better than Sonic 4? Because wasn't Sonic 4 supposed to be that kind of return
Sonic
to
4
form?
was like the Rush, based off the Rush games, which has like some of the modern techniques, like the homing attack, and the physics are a little bit different. Those games.
So
aren't
this
bad.
actually feels like the Genesis
Yes,
game.
you don't like
just,
yeah.
Okay.
You don't.
Huh.
The Rush games weren't bad either. Like I agree with you, Shane. Like the portable ones, the 2D ones have been pretty good, but the console ones haven't. The console ones haven't done this. They haven't tried to do like Rush style, but this is classic style and it's really good. And then the other part of the equation is the 3D games where you're running forward and half of it's still on rails. They trimmed
Half
out.
of it.
No, the old,
You mean
older
the
ones.
whole of it.
Oh, the old ones used to all be like that. The thing is, they trimmed out a lot of the like nonsense, the stuff that like drove me insane to frustrate me. A lot of, where you can't see in front of you at a point, and then you like have no time to react. You die, or the the structure of the level is kind of like a mess to me. They tightened it up so that you still are going really fast. You have this great sense of speed, and you feel like when you are like controlling, you have control of Sonic. And that you are doing stuff and getting a sense of instant gratification from playing as Sonic in that. And I mean, they kind of, I guess I don't want to call it cheated, but like they kind of like trimmed down, like courses are narrower in some spots. You can't wander all over the place. But by cutting out the more free roaming nature of some of the old 3D ones and focusing it on a tighter experience, like it plays better.
So is it basically the bonus game from Sonic 2 then?
No.
Okay.
Close. not quite.
That's what it sounds like when you're saying it's all narrow and.
Well, like the Green Hill Zone, like the very beginning, you have you can barely move. They just want you to have this sense of speed. Like some of the older ones, you have a wide range where you can drift around, and you doesn't feel like you can, using the analog stick. Like this one, you can shift. Yeah, they tightened up everything, and it's better for it.
How big is the game?
That is the one knock against the game. That's what holds it back from being a really great game. Sonic fans are gonna blaze through it 4 or 5 hours.
Ugh.
Regular people might get to 7, 8. And then there's a bunch of extra stuff we'll double it about, but you want more of these main course stages, and they only give you 9 with 2 acts each, and you want more of that, and so that's its knock. It's a little short, and you definitely I want more, and you get to the end it's over. That was pretty short. So they could have spent more time on it and buffed up that length a little bit. I would say though, if it's maybe make this a Christmas present, come back to it when you have some time. You won't be disappointed.
All right, so Battlefield 3 been a hot topic on this show. Every show, game, industry, it's everywhere. Saturation, out the yin yang.
Saw it on a bus.
Yeah, obviously.
No, he actually just literally saw somebody leave their copy on a bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we reviewed the PC version. We got the console version a little late. Hopefully, our console review is up before this airs on Friday.
I wonder why
I'm
we got the
trying
console
to
version.
get it done.
Wonder why everybody got the console version late.
Mm.
I wonder if it's because it's shit.
Well, I don't know if I go that far.
Or I will.
I know you will.
Oh, I'm going that far, and I'm going beyond that farness.
Why do you think it's so bad?
All right.
And do you think it's because you played the PC version first?
No, I didn't play the PC version first.
Okay.
I actually didn't get to play the PC version until yesterday for the first time.
Okay.
And that's another thing that I will talk about in a minute. The magic of Origin.
Yeah.
All right, so I got to play this last week. It came in and installed it to my hard drive on my Xbox. Then did the day one patch. Then and added the optional 1.1 gig of hard drive space donated to their textures, and I use that the high res textures, and I use that term loosely. I mean, and we're talking about a hooker who's just done 55 guys in a row
and put on some lipstick.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, the high res textures, I really couldn't see where they were, and I didn't see the point. I mean, why would you have them as an additional installation on the 360? Because they're not, you'd release them to say, all right, well, we can do the high-res textures, and they're not going to be an issue on 360, so why don't you just include them as part of the regular version
because
of the
they
game?
are an issue.
They were. I mean, they were an issue.
It makes the game run slow, or it does something to the game.
I never had any issues with the game running slower, to be fair. But I jumped in, played the single player, which is a Total Call of Duty knockoff, but not as much fun as Modern Warfare 1 or 2 in my opinion. And then I got online and just wandered around the environments, and it's just full on Twitch. Let's talk about the newest bane of multiplayer existence.
Oh, wait, let's go back to the graphics first, because I played the PC version first. You didn't, and we did a graphics comparison. Maybe our editor will pop that up right now so you can see it. There's no doubt about it that the console versions do not look anywhere near as close to the PC version, but I think if you look at the console versions on their own, it's actually a pretty good-looking game. The lighting is pretty impressive.
I think on single player, where it's more controlled, I think when you've got more things in multiplayer, I don't think the multiplayer levels look as good.
Multiplayer, no. Campaign
across the board for every game ever made, though.
Yeah, but you're right.
Some of the campaign stuff does look good. The campaigns themselves are very bland, very generic.
Yeah.
Sticking in quick times.
But the multiplayer, now they've changed it drastically. I mean, the battlefields themselves are much smaller. The level of detail isn't even close to the PC version.
Huh.
And it's a lot grainier.
Can I ask how it compares to Bad Company 2?
It looks better than Bad Company 2.
How about the size?
How about the what?
The size of the playfields.
This what?
The size of the maps.
The maps.
Oh, the size. I thought you said the sides.
No, the size.
About the same.
Okay.
But you got to realize when you play the PC version of Battlefield 3, these maps are freaking huge. I mean, they're miles and miles long. So to jump into this, it's less players as well on the console. So I can see why they made the map smaller to make sure that there's conflict. But despite the smaller map size, the graphics still are pretty freaking garish.
Yeah. It's pretty repugnant all around, and it's just disappointing for me because I was hoping that with DICE and Frostbite 2, I mean, I've got a lot of respect for DICE. They've done some really good games that some of them have been out now Twitch, but they've not made any punk decisions over the years that have really sort of it's like rushed. In my opinion, I mean, Battlefield 1942 was just like a phenomenal breath of fresh air, and I was hoping they were going to build on that and sort of like evolve the gameplay, and I don't think they have. I think they've basically said we're just going to sit down and this might have come from EA high-ups. We're going to sit down, we're going to rip off Call of Duty. Well, we've got the vehicles, but we're going to rip off Call of Duty. But the one decision that has pissed me off the most about Battlefield's any version, the fucking flashlights.
I like those, though.
Yeah, because you're probably the sort of arsehole who's running around a daylight map with your flashlight on, dazzling people.
Oh, I know what you're talking
about.
So
that everything goes white and woozy, and the next thing you're dead. That, to me, those flashlight fuckers, I piss on them from a very great
height. That's the name of my band.
Ryan and the
flashlight or fleshlight?
Flashlight.
Oh, no, sorry.
That's a whole different discussion. No, so I just don't see the point in that decision. I mean, anything that encourages people to just gank and spawn rape, or the snipers as well, I think are a little too overbalanced on the PC version as well.
Well, you get that glint now from the sniper rifle, so you can spot them.
But jumping on the PC version, the glint is so buried in the amazing gorgeousness of Frostbite running on Ultra at 60 frames a second that you can't really see it.
Yeah,
it's totally wrong.
Well, then the glint's a little overdone on the console versions.
Yeah, so
it looks like there's like a solar panel emitting light. And
is it always the same glint too? Like it's not like a dynamic light; it's kind of like a can thing.
Yeah, it's
because like they did that in one of the Spec Ops things in Modern Warfare 2. I just remember I was like, oh, that's cool, but it's the same animation like every time.
Yeah, but I like the flashlights. I agree they shouldn't work in the day at all.
Yeah.
But I think they're pretty cool when you're inside a building and someone comes inside from outside and you put that flashlight right in their face and they can only shoot in the general direction of that flashlight. You get that kill.
Yeah, it's really...
Can you dual wield flashlights?
No.
And at least the flashlights, you don't have to hold them in a separate hand so that you can shoot. So no, I'm very disappointed in what Battlefield 3 has done on the console, and then I did get to play the PC version. And unless anybody else wants to talk about the console version, I'm now going to talk about Origin. I'm going to talk about the stinking pile of pustulating, fetid, sexually transmitted disease that is Origin. This is a nasty, invasive piece of crap as a content delivery system. Been doing a little bit of research, got sent some links on Twitter, and I've done some following up, and there's a huge outcry, in particular in Germany, where it's become national news about how invasive this piece of software is. It analyzes everything on your hard drive. It analyzes every other program and then sends the info to Electronic Arts.
Has anyone looked at the terms of service to see if that is included in there?
This has been going on with online things since Prodigy.
But this is the most invasive one yet. Battle.net doesn't do it anywhere like this. Steam doesn't do it
I'm not defending it. I'm just saying, I've seen this story come up over and over.
This is quite literally the 800-pound gorilla of intrusiveness. So much so that the rumor is that the German government are now planning on getting involved because of anti-privacy issues.
Merkel.
And it wouldn't surprise me to see Origin either be pulled in Germany or it might get banned. And here's hoping that somebody here in the US has the same issue, because it's a horrible system. And the fact that you can only play Battlefield, the Old Republic when it comes up, any of these EA games by going through Origin. And I had a boxed retail copy of Battlefield 3 sent to me for the PC. My new PC arrived on Monday. I tried to start installing it Monday afternoon. It connected to Origin to download, not a patch, the entire fucking game. It wanted to download 11 gigs of Battlefield 3 when I've got a CD sitting in my CD-ROM drive.
Yeah.
I tried 4 times that afternoon, gave up, went to a party, got very drunk. It was Halloween after all. Next morning, I get up, I get on the phone with EA Tech Support. EA Tech Support, thick as 2-shot planks. The guy I dealt with, he was about as useful as a condom machine in the Vatican. He couldn't figure out, he couldn't figure out. It's like, oh, so you have an old PC, you have to update your drivers. I'm like, dude, this is a custom-built machine
Brand new.
that arrived yesterday. Everything is updated. Eventually, I went out onto the internet, and thankfully, matter of minutes, I found the solution. I finally got it installed, but it still took because EA don't publish it on DVD-ROM for PCs. It took me 40 minutes to install from a PC, which is fucking ridiculous because I got a really fast CD-ROM drive.
Well, my biggest complaint about Origin is that you have to be online to play the games.
Well, I mean, if the single player validation is now it's getting beyond a joke. I mean, Blizzard's going that way with StarCraft and Diablo, and if you have a multiplayer component, you need to be online for that. But they have to
launch
get around
the campaign from Origin.
Yeah, they have to get. There is actually
through a website.
People have actually hacked the game now, and there is a hack to get around Origin. I haven't installed it, and I don't intend to. But yeah, it's ridiculous. EA has no right to go and sniff around on my hard drive. That's all they, basically this follows on from, EA were the first people to alter the end user license agreement to say this is basically a rental. You are licensing the game from us. You don't physically own a copy of the game. And now they're taking it to the nth degree. And for a while, I was kind of like happy with EA because they were doing stuff like Mirror's Edge. They were doing Dead Space 1 and 2. And they were really sort of like going out there and trying to do some cool stuff. But now, the last sort of like 6-8 months, they've turned into monumental cocksuckers. They're so obsessed with trying to beat Activision at their own game. They've become a second Activision, again, because they were the first Activision 10 years ago. And I'm really just disappointed in them, and I'm fucking furious at Origin.
I wonder, though, if it's like that episode of South Park about the iTunes terms of service.
iPad, yeah.
I mean, if you probably look at the fine print, you probably agreed to deal with all that crap.
But then if... As somebody who plays games for a living, I can't play Battlefield 3 on the PC without agreeing to those. It's not like, oh, I'm going to disagree because I can't, I can't play the fucking game. They
should make you agree to those terms of service before you buy the game.
Should have voted for Nader.
Which is physically impossible because then as soon as you go into GameStop or Best Buy or whatever, they're not going to give you a document to say, all right, you need to read this before I give you the game. Yeah. So
that's where the bullshit is.
It's out and out bullshit, and it's out and out and honestly, it's a violation of my privacy, and it's a violation of everybody else's privacy, and I think it's fucking disgusting. I think everybody should let EA know. Everybody should bombard the EA forums. Send them emails. Find John Riccatello's emails.
Origin at EA.com.
Well, no, I'd love to know what John Riccatello's email is, because honestly, if I knew it, I would have given it out right now and I told everybody to email him, because this is just taking the piss.
I kind of think it's funny, though, that EA bought Origin systems back in, the 90s for the Ultima games and Wing Commander and shit, and now they're just using the name as this shitty service. Lord British must be upset.
I'd be upset, too. I mean, yes, there were these amazing games that came from Origin system, and they're not just besmirching the memory. They've dug up the corpse, they're fucking it 3 ways from Sunday, then taking a dump on it, and then serving it to people making them eat it.
I think I saw this video.
All right, that'll do it for episode 184. Next week on the show, 2 huge games in one episode. We will have Skyrim on the show, and I think
Sims Pets.
And I think literally everybody in this building is playing Skyrim. They've sent us plenty of copies for everyone to get their hands on it, so it's not going to just be a one-sided conversation. We'll also be talking about Modern Warfare 3, which I went and played last week.
So that will be a one-sided conversation, then?
Yeah, I don't think anyone else will have a chance to play it. Maybe. They might send us retail before then. We'll see. We'll do our best to try to get some other people to get their hands on that game. I also want to talk about last week's episode. We had a bit of a snafu. I want to explain to you guys what happened. The show was down for a while. Essentially what happened was we recorded the show way early in the week. We realized there was a factual error in the show. I was out of town at a review event. I came back. We fixed the error. The wrong file was exported. We didn't realize it at first, so it turned into this huge fire drill to try to get the file fixed and get the right file up. Anyway, we really apologize for that. It was tough. I know if you guys came here on Friday to try to find the show, it could or could not have been live on the site. No such issues this week. Should be good to go for the whole weekend.
Famous last words.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. Also want to mention next Thursday, we are doing Hour 1 for Skyrim. So, and probably the good news about this too is that we're not necessarily doing the first hour of the game. We're actually going to be able to go a little farther into the game.
Actually, hour 27.
Yeah, and show you like one of our favorite hours from the game. So I believe the times are 3 and 6 Pacific. Not 1,000% certain about that, but I believe it is 3 and 6 Pacific. We do re-air it a couple hours after we air it the first time. And here's the thing, folks, you have to be there to watch it. We're not going to be putting up the archive file, so you have to make sure you show up for the live broadcast, hour 1 of Skyrim, next Thursday right here on GameTrailers.com. Also, we have some beta codes to give away, and this is for a franchise that is very near and dear to my heart, Tribes. I've been a Tribes fan since the late 90s. I played the first Tribes probably enough to end a few relationships with various girls I dated. I love Tribes, at least in the past I love Tribes. Not a big fan of Tribes 2 or some of the other console things they did. Tribes Ascend, though, is a harkening back to classic Tribes, and I'm really excited about this game, so much so that I reached out to the developer to try to get you guys beta codes to turn some of you guys on to what I love. So we have around 100 Tribes Ascend codes to give away over the weekend. You have to follow Invisible Walls on Twitter. No quizzes this time. We have too many codes to give away. We're just going to be throwing them up on there. So make sure you follow us and keep an eye on your smartphone or whatever it is you use to track Twitter. They will be going up all weekend, and it's going to be a race for you to go and input those codes. And hopefully you guys can all get on, and we'll see you online for some warfare. Anyway, that's it for this week's episode. Invisible Walls is up and out.